I had imagined coming home 1,000 different ways while I was overseas, but none of them included being told I didn't belong on my own land. Out there, far from home, you replay moments in your head to survive the quiet nights. You imagine the sound of gravel under your tires, the way the air smells right before sunset, the way land recognizes you even before people do. I never imagined my homecoming would begin with a locked gate and a stranger deciding my past no longer mattered. 14 months away changes how you see things. You stop craving noise. You stop craving crowds. You stop caring about winning arguments or being right in public. All you want is something solid, something that doesn't ask you to explain yourself, something that doesn't question who you are or where you belong. For me, that place was my family's ranch. That land wasn't just property, it was memory. It was proof that sacrifice meant something. My grandfather bought it after the war with nothing but savings scraped together from factory shifts, stubbornness that bordered on insanity, and a quiet belief that land meant freedom. He didn't inherit wealth. He didn't inherit privilege. He inherited survival. He slept in a truck for months because there was no house yet. Just wind and dirt and an idea that one day his children would stand on ground that no one could take from them. He built fences by hand, dug posts into stubborn earth, bled into that soil without complaint. When the sun burned him, he kept going. When winter froze his hands, he worked slower, not less. He carved a future out of dirt and sweat, and every fence line carried the promise that this land would outlast him. My father grew up there. He learned to walk on uneven ground, learned responsibility before comfort. He fought off developers for decades, men in clean boots and confident, voices who believed everything had a price if you pushed hard enough. My father taught me that some things aren't for sale, no matter how big the check looks. He taught me one rule I never forgot. Protect your land and it will protect you. I carried that rule into every deployment, into every night where the world felt fragile and loud and dangerous. It grounded me when nothing else could. So when my tires finally rolled onto that gravel road just before sunset, my chest loosened for the first time in over a year. The sound was familiar in a way no voice could be. The air smelled like dust and grass and something older than memory. The hills rose in the distance exactly the way my mind had kept them safe. For a moment, everything felt right. Then my headlights hit something that didn't belong. A tall, brand-new steel gate stood across the road. It wasn't rusted. It wasn't temporary. It wasn't apologetic. It was polished, electronic, confident, like it had always been there and dared anyone to question it. Bolted to it was a sign so clean it almost glowed in the fading light. Meadow Ridge Estates, Ho private property. No trespassing. My stomach dropped. That gate wasn't just new. It was planted directly on my land. I sat there longer than I should have, engine idling, staring at it like it might explain itself if I waited long enough. Trying to understand how something so wrong could stand so confidently in a place. It had no right to exist. Before I could even step out of my truck, a black Lexus slid sideways across the gravel road and blocked me in. The move was sharp, practiced, deliberate. The kind of maneuver done by someone who had stopped people before and never been told no. The driver stepped out like she owned the horizon. Perfect hair that didn't move in the wind. A red blazer pressed so sharply it looked weaponized. A clipboard held tight against her chest like it carried authority itself. She didn't ask who I was. She didn't ask why I was there. "You need to leave," she said, voice flat and rehearsed. "This is private HOA property." I stayed calm. Deployment teaches you how quickly things escalate when ego takes over. "Ma'am," I said evenly, "this is my ranch." She laughed. Not unsure, not nervous, confident. The kind of laugh that comes from years of being obeyed without challenge. "No, it isn't," she said. "I'm the HOA president. I know who owns land here." That wasn't arrogance. That was belief. She truly thought she owned my family's history. I pointed toward the hills, toward the fence line my father had repaired more times than I could count. "My grandfather bought this land in the 70s, I said. "That fence was built by my father. This road is older than your HOA. She didn't care. "HOA authority overrides outdated claims," she snapped, already pulling out her phone. "I'm calling the police." No hesitation. No doubt. No concern that she might be wrong. She reported me as aggressive and trespassing, while standing on land my family had owned for generations. When she hung up, she smiled like the outcome was already decided. Minutes later, 2 sheriff's units arrived, lights flashing red and blue against the illegal gate. The road looked like a crime scene where only one person had committed. A crime, and it wasn't me. She rushed toward them, loud and dramatic, voice shaking with rehearsed outrage. "He's trespassing," she said. "He claims he owns this land." I stepped forward calmly, hands visible, movements slow. I handed the deputy my ID. "I just returned from deployment," I said. "This is my family's ranch." The deputy looked at the ID. Then he looked at me. Something shifted. "Welcome home, sir." That was the first crack in her confidence. She crossed her arms tightly, lips pressed thin. "He's lying," she said. "The HOA owns everything beyond the road." The deputy didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He asked one simple question. "Do you have documentation?" I nodded. I walked back to my truck and pulled out the folder my father had, made me promise never to lose. The same folder he handed me before I deployed, telling me it mattered more than anything else I owned. Original deeds, county seals, easements older than the houses behind her, paperwork that carried weight because it carried truth. The deputy read it once, then again. Then his jaw tightened. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "this land predates your HOA by more than 20 years. Her smile vanished. "That's impossible." "It isn't," he replied. "Your HOA never legally acquired this road, this gate, or the easement beneath it." Her clipboard slipped from her hands and hit the gravel like punctuation. Right there on the roadside, everything unraveled. County records were pulled. Calls were made. The truth surfaced slowly and then all at once. For years, the HOA had enforced rules without authority, collected dues unlawfully, blocked access roads, and built infrastructure on land they didn't own. She started shouting, accusing, demanding arrests. Instead, the deputy turned to her. "Ma'am, you've just filed a false police report." Neighbors began stepping outside. Phones came out. Whispers spread. The illusion cracked in real time. Then the radio crackled. "HOA incorporation appears invalid. Initiate suspension and dissolution review." Within an hour, the HOA's authority was frozen. Weeks later, the gate was removed by county order. Bank accounts were locked. Board members resigned. Lawsuits followed. Refunds were demanded. The HOA didn't just lose power. It legally ceased to exist. That evening, after the road fell quiet again, I unlocked what was left of the gate, opened it myself, and drove home as the sun disappeared behind the hills my family had protected for generations. And standing there in the silence I had waited 14 months to feel, I understood something simple and permanent. Some people pretend to own land for years until the rightful owner finally comes home.